The man opened the bamboo tube and poured the snake inside onto the woman's shoulder with a bad smile on his face. When the woman saw the snake spitting its tongue at her, she was so scared that she didn't dare to breathe. At the same time, she suddenly felt an itch on her right shoulder, which she thought was caused by the snake's tail swinging on her shoulder. But it turned out to be a man drawing a tattoo on the woman's shoulder with a feather quill. Realized that not quite right, woman immediately knocked the bow surface with the index finger to attract the attention of the small green snake. After even the arrow with the snake a move shot out. Then she quickly turned her head and looked around, only to realize that there was no one there. The woman breathed a sigh of relief, thinking she was too nervous and hallucinating, so she randomly planned to change places to keep an eye on her. But just as she got to her teammate, she realized she had a tattoo on her shoulder, and so the woman realized that there was someone behind her when she was in the tree. Then she suddenly realized that there were footprints on the ground, so she chased after them without even thinking about it. At that moment, Morty was warming himself over a fire in the snow, unaware that his actions had been compromised, until a sword whizzed past his eyes. He realized that the woman had come to his door, but in the face of the woman's successive attacks, Morty was not the least bit panicked, and even pulled off the woman's sleeve by virtue of his flexible position, then grabbed the woman's wrist to backhand to untie her hair and then took the opportunity to pull open the woman's skirt to turn it over completely. But as the woman rotated to the water screen and looked at the reflection of such a beautiful self, immediately dissipated the anger in his heart and immediately fell in love with this romantic man in front of him. And Morty also promised his beloved that he would sneak into the palace to rescue the late queen and overthrow the tyranny of the current king. Shaman. It turns out that since the shaman took office, he's been trying to raise taxes on the people. Anyone who fails to pay the taxes will be whipped to death by the soldiers. The taxes were turned into gold and used to build his own gold statue. Not only that, he imprisoned the late king's queen in the square for 25 years just to deter those loyal to the late king. On that day, the shaman's giant statue, made from 100,000 tons of gold, was finally completed. He immediately recruited 20,000 slaves from the common people to erect the 500-meter-high statue in the middle of the city. However, an old man who hadn't eaten for a long time lost his strength and slipped to the ground. The slaves behind him suddenly lost their balance and the statue fell backwards. The slaves were terrified and pulled the rope as hard as they could, but the statue was too heavy for their strength. Seeing that the slaves below the statue would soon be smashed into meat, a man suddenly appeared. A man suddenly appeared. He took a firm bow and pulled the rope over his shoulder. The statue stopped in midair.